Starting and operating a nonprofit is not a matter of filing a few forms and calling it good. There's a lot that needs to be thought about. And in today's episode, we're going to look at the 11 must-dos for starting a nonprofit. Hi, I'm Greg McRae, founder and CEO of Foundation Group, and welcome back to our 501c3 University channel, where we make nonprofit issues understandable. Now, we've been on a theme lately with our last few videos. A few weeks ago, we talked about the 5 worst reasons to start a nonprofit, followed by the 5 best reasons. Well, we had a lot of fun with those, but today we're assuming you're doing this thing. You're starting that nonprofit. Well, if you are, you need to be considering these 11 things. Now, we've covered many of these topics individually, so we'll be brief and link the related videos below. Here we go. Number 1, define your purpose. Now, when defining your purpose, ask yourself these basic tenets of journalistic investigation. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Why am I starting this nonprofit? What is the mission of my organization? What wrong am I trying to right? What values are going to drive my activities? Who's the target beneficiary group that my nonprofit will impact? Who's going to administer the services and resources that my nonprofit's going to provide? Who are my board members and potential staff? How am I going to accomplish my mission? How will we pay for this? Believe me when I say that I left out more than I asked. But do you see what I'm getting at here? These are questions that you really need to ask and answer before you start filing paperwork. Now, these plans don't have to be set in concrete, but you do at least need to be considering these. Now, once you have answers to these questions, you can begin to flesh out a 3-year action plan for your organization, including potential activity milestones, impact goals, budget figures, and other details. Number 2, define your programs. Now, much of your 3-year action plan that we just talked about, you're going to need to disclose that to the IRS in your 501c3 application. But there's other benefits that will impact your program plans. And one is feasibility. By defining your purpose and clearly outlining your program plans, you can start to see if your plan's even realistic. You can begin mapping out human resource needs, program cost, and fundraising goals. Another issue is IRS compliance. You can't get where you're wanting to go without 501c3 status. And to get that and keep it, your nonprofit must be organized for an exclusively charitable purpose. Now, your 3-year plan will help with that. The third benefit here is sustainability. Once you've determined that your plan is feasible and IRS compliant, you need to take a step back and ask, is it sustainable? Can I generate enough public interest to get the financial support I need long term? Will it be compelling enough to attract and retain board members, employees, or volunteers? That's a lot to think about. Number 3, understand that you do not own this. Now, we have hammered this subject a number of times in other videos. Look over my shoulder here for examples of that, or check out the links below. Suffice it to say that a nonprofit doesn't have an ownership structure like a for-profit company does. You may run it, but you are legally a steward, not an owner. Number 4, choose your nonprofit structure. Again, this is an area we have covered extensively before, but at some point in the formation process, you're going to have to decide whether you are a public charity, a private foundation, or a private operating foundation. Each has its own distinct requirements and reasons why it might be the right choice for you. Number 5, establish your board of directors. Again, another topic we have covered, but here's the most important question you should ask when assessing board member prospects. Do they have a passion for the mission of my organization? If they're not willing to give their time, talent, and treasure, they're probably not a good fit. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here to say that board members should be bankrolling your nonprofit. Not at all. But they should be all in. Find good people who care, who have strategic thinking ability, and have the time to invest in helping you oversee this thing, and you'll be off to a good start. Number 6, understand conflict of interest. Now, conflict of interest, it snares many nonprofits, and new organizations are particularly vulnerable to this. It's hard to avoid, partly because close control can be advantageous while the nonprofit is getting its sea legs. But what you have to avoid is conflict of interest turning into inurement or private benefit. Again, we'll link to more on that topic, but the issue is that your nonprofit's activities and resources cannot unfairly benefit insiders. There's lots of ways conflict of interest could turn deadly, so check out the other content so you can learn more on that. Number 7 is fundraising. Now, I'm not going to say a lot about this, but you must build a robust, sustainable mechanism for fundraising. Now, that can be from donations, grants, or even revenue from your programs. Each has its benefits and limitations, but it's critical for nonprofits to diversify their funding sources to ensure that they can continue to operate in case any one of those sources goes dry. You got to have money to operate. Number 8 is employee compensation. If you're going to have paid staff, remember that you're running a business, and employment taxes and laws, they're going to affect your nonprofit just as much as for-profits. In fact, nearly all the same rules apply. And also keep in mind that there is a reasonableness standard that the IRS applies to nonprofit pay. So make sure your compensation levels don't exceed the norm for organizations like yours, especially when it comes to executive compensation. We're going to hit this topic more in detail coming up soon. Number 9, record keeping. This is yet another topic we've covered in detail, but suffice it to say that you need to document. Perfecting the habit of documenting the activities of your nonprofit is one of the most important disciplines any new social entrepreneur can master. The most important things I'm talking about: contributions, who gave what and when. Corporate records. These are your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, your corporate annual reports, and meeting minutes. The third category is activity records. You're going to need to document what your nonprofit does. This goes for fundraising, program accomplishments. You're going to need to report all this to the IRS. And the last one in the record-keeping category is your accounting records. Now, if there's anything you got to get right, it's this one. We're talking about income, expenses by category. How much does your organization have? What are its assets? What are its liabilities? Critical that you get this right. Get help if you're not an accounting expert. One of the most important things you have is a responsibility to keep up with. Number 10, and I promise we're getting near the finish line. Number 10 is compliance filings. The links to specific videos are going to be popping up all around me, but here's the short list. IRS Form 990, corporate annual reports, state charitable solicitation, registration, and renewal wherever you are raising support from. In some areas, you're going to have other compliance filings to deal with. Know what you need to know on this one. Getting this one wrong will come back to bite you, I promise. And finally, number 11. Who's going to help you with all of this? Now, this one's a bit self-serving, but let's be honest. Starting and operating a nonprofit, it's complicated. And unless you're an expert in this stuff, you are going to need professional assistance. Having worked with multiplied thousands of nonprofits over the years, we know what to do and when to do it. If you need help starting a nonprofit, reach out and let us know. We would love to help. And once it's up and running, we can help you keep your bookkeeping and your compliance concerns taken care of. Today's was a bit longer than usual, but thanks for sticking with it. It is all critically important stuff for new organizations getting started. Thanks for watching. Now go serve your community. Hey, do me a favor and don't navigate away just yet. We would really appreciate it if you would hit the like button below, as it really helps get our content recommended to more people. Subscribe if you haven't already, as we have great content coming your way on a regular basis. Finally, you can click the little bell icon to be notified of new content when we post it. To learn more about Foundation Group, you can visit us on the web at www.501c3.org. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.